Hello and welcome to a glorious day. Today we get access to 1.1 Rossback. This video that's playing in the background is the video that Paradox released just yesterday, looking at all of the different updates and stuff coming in Rossback. Everyone very excited for it. I am looking forward to it all. But we got access to the beta roughly an hour ago. For me, by the time you watch this video, it's probably going to be a little longer than that because we have a lot of patch notes to go through. But before we do that, I'm going to show you quickly how to get access to the beta yourself. Go to your Steam library, right-click on Europa Universalis 5 properties. You want to go to Game Versions and Betas, and then scroll down to, it will be for the bottom one for you, 1.1.0 Open Beta for EU5. That's what you want to do. Click X, and then allow this to download. That's the plan. It is downloading for me, and while it does that, let us go and have a look at some of the new features that are coming. So, a game rule for how aggressive you want the AI to be, 7 new achievements, added rally points, so when you've got a bunch of levies, you can have them all go to wherever you want them to do. Looking forward to seeing if there is multiple rally points for this. Unit templates as well, I'm looking forward to using those. When using a use template or raise all levies, all created units will now spawn and merge at a designated location. For unit templates, units will rally at the location where the split command was initiated. For raise all levies, units will go by default to the capital or the nearest coastal location to the capital unless the player specifies another rally point when raising them. Music player has been added. A coin law determined which metals you want to use as your coins. Peasant enfranchisement is a new mechanic where, depending on serfdom versus free subjects, location ranks, state privileges, and more, incomes would be going to the peasants would instead go to the nobles. Added a return core location peace treaty, allowing locations to be occupied during war by the player, their subjects, including subjects of subjects or allies, to be returned to the controller at the time of the peace deal. You can now have preferences for how a unit is balanced. Looking forward to playing around with that as well. Added automation for auto-balancing armies. Very happy to see that one. Might actually help the AI quite a bit as well, to be honest. Added late-game tricorn hats, French dresses, and ditto suits. I don't know what a ditto suit is, but yeah, looking forward to seeing that as well. I assume it is one of these. They do look pretty fancy. This is in the dev diary that came out on Friday that I didn't do a video on because it is a lot of art and I don't really have much to say on art other than, ooh, that looks nice. So I kind of skipped it. But hey, look, new situation event looking thing. It's awesome. New loading screen event looking thing. Awesome. Anyway, moving back here. We have location buildings panel allowing users to view all constructed buildings in a location accessible via the location card, pop type location buttons, and shift clicking on a location in the building's macro builder. 2 late era mustaches. There's one of them, I guess. Added new advances for the German culture group, giving regional toll castles. Added the following unique advances: 1 advance for Hesse, 2 for Cologne, 6 for the Palatinate, 1 for Trier, 2 for the Hanseatic countries of the Hansa, Hamburg, Lübeck, Bremen, and Rostock. 6 unique gods to Tengriism. Unit templates. It's now possible to create a unit template for a navy and army and recruit it between several locations depending on their distance and current queue. Added a disaster for Brandenburg, turmoil in Brandenburg, handling the content concerning the Wittelsbacher neglect, false Valdemar, and robber barons event chains in a more cohesive way. 6 new additional events for it. I know we'll see it eventually as well, but there is also a achievement available for playing Brandenburg as well. That you need to go through all of this kind of stuff. Added wigs as a late era hairstyle, a generic grenadier unit for the Age of Revolutions. 7 new units for several German countries: Saxon Defensioners, Prussian Grenadiers, Bavarian Jägers, Hessian Jägers, Grenhussars, Pander Infantry, and Gebirgsschützen for the Danube, South Bavarians, and Swiss. Late game female headwear as well. It'd be nice if all of the, this and this and this was all together rather than art for your characters, gameplay mechanic, art for your characters, gameplay mechanic, like, you know, just a little organization. New loading screen portraying the Prussian 7th Braunschweig Bavarian infantry on the left flank of the Battle of Rossbach. 2 new unit illustrations, the Age of Absolutism Grenadiers and the Age of Revolutions Grenadiers. Very cool indeed. Gameplay. Before we get to gameplay, though, I just launched the game, and this is what the loading screen looks like. It's, you know, it's obviously got that 2D plus, where you got the parallax going on. I think it looks great. Big fan of the new loading screen. Either way, I'm going to be loading up a new game and also a save game, which save games apparently are compatible. However, you are going to probably struggle with some of the economy changes, so it is not recommended. It's probably recommended more to start a new game, but we are going to pop ourselves in just so that we can have a look around at certain things. But anyway, also I want to play some EU5. Anyway, back to this. Added a complacency mechanic that's primarily increased by the lack of threatening rivals, decreased when losing wars. Stop cabinet members moving overseas with their mummies. Okay, didn't know that was a thing that was happening. Fixed a bug where local power modifiers for estates were not applied. Estates with high power now have a reduced satisfaction, requiring more benefits. Estates now keep a bit of more money around, and the amount of wealth they have impacts their power. Fix the fiefdoms becoming vassals under elective monarchies. I didn't know that was happening either. Hiring an advisor now costs 5 government power instead of 20. I'm more likely to use this. I still think... Ooh, that's actually more tempting. It is more tempting for sure. 20 legitimacy was a huge investment. 5? I could probably swing 5. Anytime I get an event that says, you know, here, take 10 legitimacy or something, I'll probably click this button every time I get one of those when I'm already at 100. Removed all purely beneficial effects from tribal estate privileges. Okay, that's unfortunate. The buy tradition policy now gives 5% cultural tradition instead of 2.5%. Assimilate area can now pick a culture instead of using the dominant one. Okay, I also wasn't aware that this was an issue. Favor the ruler no longer gives plus 5% max tax, but crown power is increased from 20 to 33%. This was like the reason that I would take it. Usually I go with favor the wealthy. But the max tax for favor the ruler was kind of nice. This is a good boost, though. Primacy nobility is less satisfaction for the nobles, and will push you to the aristocracy instead of quality. Military allotment is now Age of Reformation, and production quota bureau's Age of Absolutism reforms. Added a cabinet action to appease an estate. Looking forward to seeing how that one works as well. AI subjects will not develop their provinces on their own. That is unfortunate. There was a bit of a swing over time between we are going to really encourage heavy vassal play, and now it's kind of swung back to, no, not that much. Not that much. We need you to stop going, you know, releasing all locations apart from your capital to a vassal to avoid this, that, and the other, and also so that they would develop. That's the strategy that no longer works. A few more sources of promotion to land. Decrease the impact of army levies and regulars on great power score. Decrease the impact of forts. Decrease the great power score from being the leader of some international organizations. The Ilkhanate went from 100 to 50. Kingship and the Lordship of Ireland went from 50 to 25 and 10 respectively. Novi Fori estate privilege is now plus 5 construction speed instead of minus 10% max control. I don't know what Novi Fori was. I don't remember seeing it, but honestly, that's a pretty good one. It's a good change. Office of the Aristavi for Georgia is now plus 10 crown power instead of plus 5 levy size. Moving on to the economy. Stop the export of food from markets with no food stockpile. Great. Gold cap is now 1 billion instead of 1 million. Okay, so generalist and only generalist is happy about this. Eco base is now 50% of potential tax base instead of 75% of tax base. I think this is going to be a pretty huge change because eco base is what determines how much money you are paying in your cost of court. So any change to this is going to be felt. I think some countries are going to see their eco base go up. Some are going to see it go down. It's going to take a little time to play around with it to see how that goes. The lost tax income from lack of control now goes to the estates directly. This is a huge one that people have been asking for a very, very long time. So I think people are going to be very happy about that. Rivers cost on proximity has been nerfed from 10 to 12. Game now tracks if a location has roads connected to the capital or not. If there are not enough slaves for buildings and an RGO, then laborers are priorities for RGO. Okay, good. Slave centers and plantations now more profitable and should not auto-close. I am so excited about that. I might play a colonizer again. Slaves now distribute inside a market depending on surplus and demand. Rebalance the impact of surplus of work to be based on the amount of work, not a percentage of the population. Migration attraction for surplus of work is now a percentage of unemployed pops versus required pops. Now a negative migration attraction from too many unemployed peasants in a location. That is very interesting. That makes sense. You can now build in subjects even if they lack the advance for it. That's huge as well. Food price is now depending on the stockpile versus the consumption. Okay, that's all. A lot of things are changing with the economy, that's for sure. Provinces with negative monthly food and lacking stockpile now have a priority when getting food from the market. Hostile troops in a location have a direct impact on food production and decay. It's crazy that it wasn't already. Double the population growth from stored food. Actually, this is something that I am very much going to be keenly aware of in multiplayer. I don't know if you noticed, I've played 2 sessions now, but I've been doing some E5 multiplayer. And in multiplayer, I want to say meta right now is to have a food location where it's, grassland with, say, wheat on a river. So you can build up the RGO, you can build up a windmill, you can build up a lot of irrigation and farming villages. And you build all this in the same place, you're just, stacking modifiers and being very, very happy about that. If that now gets sieged, hostile troops having a direct impact on the food production of, your individual high food output locations, that's going to very, very heavily sting. Double the pop growth from stored food is also going to be huge as well. People are going to start building more granaries. Added a decay for stored food. Marketplace buildings now also require salt. This is going to be a more valuable resource soon as well. Increase the pop demands for fur, coal, and salt significantly. Again, salt being more important. Half the base price for wool, but wool buildings now require twice as much wool. We knew about that one already. A lot of raw materials got increased transport costs, and a lot of produced goods got reduced transport cost. Very cool. Reduce the trade impact on effective supply. Prices now take 20 months instead of 10 months to adapt to the new target price. Now have local production efficiency bonuses and penalties depending on if there are enough input goods locally in the market or not. And adapted some manpower buildings for the new balance on units. Refactored the economy code for estates, now shows expenses for tithe, rebels and other things previously hidden to the player. Burger's impact on trades are now 25% instead of 75%. I feel like this is huge. If I understand this correctly, this means that, when you are importing, say, a bunch of wood, when you're importing a bunch of paper, then the AIs, the burgers aren't going to be like, oh, I'm going to just export tons of paper immediately. Maybe that's going to change things. I'm not sure. Made some consistency for trade power and capacity in buildings. Road to capital calculation now works over straits as well. Straits are roads. This is huge for Venice. They are going to get a lot of more value out of their out of their land if they expand into Italy. And I feel like this is somewhat partly down to Yuan playing Venice in their recent E5 multiplayer and being annoyed that this wasn't a thing. Fruit and legumes now require more capacity to transport to simulate it being more perishable than other fruit. Makes sense. Benevolence tax now has less impact on max tax, but instead increases enfranchisement. Okay. Monetary fiefs now only reduces the nobles' max tax by 5 instead of 10. You can now lock production methods on specific buildings, and automation will now change them then. Will not change them, I assume that's supposed to be. Going bankrupt disbands some units. That's painful. Also adds some money into the loan capacity quickly from the estates so you don't get a bankruptcy every single month. That makes sense as well. Pop satisfaction from building in low control is now lower and decays much faster. The capital market language being core language is now a trade efficiency bonus instead of a capacity bonus. That is a big one. People generally didn't tend to care what their capital market language was. I mean, not that they didn't care, but it's not something that they could really fiddle with. I think they're going to try and make it, I think they're going to try and make it the same now, because trade efficiency is such a huge modifier. Noble villas and free villages now have the same stacking limit. Base enfranchisement at 25, removed some and reduced many sources of tax income efficiency. This is a huge modifier that was amazing to stack, so again, huge changes to the economy happening. Bailiffs now give plus 20 local control instead of 20 local proximity source, but you can only have one bailiff for every town or city that you have. So bailiffs, I think this is a huge buff to it. This was very situational, but yeah, having one for every town or city is actually I kind of like that. You can't build them in towns and cities. They're only available to be built in rural areas, but now they have getting a max amount of them for every town or city it's certainly interesting. I like it. I like this change. I'm looking forward to using bailiffs again, to be honest. Food decays faster in normal and severe winters. Towns and cities no longer have a penalty to food production in the location. Max taxes for nobles are now minus 100%, scaled on power instead of 25. Scaled on power of 25 instead of minus 50. Okay. Stud farms require more laborers. I don't know why you nerfed stud farms. I don't think people generally built these very much. I know I didn't, at least. You can now build stud farms in other locations in a market producing horses. State chance to build beneficial buildings when rich is now satisfaction minus 50 chance instead of 33 plus satisfaction over 2. Sure, math's changed in there. Free trade reduces the impact of production on the market on production efficiency, while mercantilism increases it. That is a change as well. Obviously, mercantilism versus free trade is a not late, but it's a later game societal values. I generally always went to free trade. Reduce the impact of production in the market on production efficiency. That's bad. I quite like this modifier. This is basically I have paper in the province, therefore I make books better. I make more books. Mercantilism increasing that that modifier is really powerful. Free trade reducing the impact of it kind of sucks, but all the rest of parts of free trade I feel are still better. Enfranchisement now depends heavily on the local control. Naval government as a proximity source, looking forward to using these as well. Made proper, defines, and fixed consistency for demand and supply impact. Okay. Estates now have an upkeep for their own buildings. Okay, that's an interesting change that I didn't know about. Bailiffs are now a bit more costly to upkeep and reduced enfranchisement. Estates no longer build most buildings that give control, proximity, manpower, or sailors. And proximity is now a speed, not a cost. Looking forward to playing around with the new proximity system as well. Estates will not build things that will primarily benefit another estate. I can't think of any buildings that I recall that would have done this, but yeah, that makes sense as well. Onto society. Also, I just want to say these patch notes are long AF, so at a certain point we will be skipping through them rather than reading absolutely every single thing because I'm going to have to. I've also just lost where I was. Here, back down to society. Control now a multiplier on the promotion, conversion, and assimilation of pops, not just another modifier. Remove the base assimilation and conversion values. Now you have to use the cabinet to do it. Wait. I don't like this. This means that there is never going to be any assimilation or conversion unless you do it manually. Ugh. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Pops migrating, converting, assimilating, or promoting will now keep their literacy. That makes sense as well. Artists in a country now prefer to actually be in that country. All right. Zhao now no longer gives some legitimacy every month, or gives way less. Insanely OP, breaking all mechanics. Fair enough. I can't remember what Zhao is. Tiny rebels no longer spawn irrelevant armies and cause revolt and civil war when they rise up, but instead add a prosperity penalty for a decade to a location. Characters will not die most of the time if their country gets annexed. They will now attempt to move to other places. That means there's going to be more characters on the map for sure. That's a good thing. The new culture created by the Unified Culture Group Cabinet Action now takes the highest influence and highest tradition from the cultures it's merging instead of an average. This is to avoid the feeling that Unified Culture is a downgrade. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to use this now because I just never did before. You can now spend cultural influence to improve your culture's opinion of another. I'm looking forward to that. That's pretty cool. Spending cultural influence is a huge, huge payment, right? Cultural influence is a really strong modifier. Spending it is going to be, it's going to be, first stage, kind of an easy sell to say, oh yeah, go pay for this. That get the other cultures happier with yours, reduce the pop dissatisfaction with you. Great stuff. Then it's going to be, I can't pay for this. I can't spend any of my cultural influence. It's too important. And then it's going to be, I have so much more cultural influence than everyone around me. I'm totally going to spend it. It's going to become trivial, very hard to sell, then very trivial again. Modifiers are copied over from the losing country to the rebel country when the civil war ends. It should prevent Yuan from losing all of its bad modifiers prematurely. Added a provoke rebels action. Looking forward to seeing that as well. Base assimilation speed is increased from 1 to 2. I don't understand. I don't understand. I have to play with it. I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know. Beggar pops who speak the market language will not cultural assimilate if your culture has a different language. That's an interesting change, yeah, makes sense. Cultural assimilation speed slightly slowed if the target culture is tolerated, greatly slowed if it is accepted. Okay, I quite like that as well. Culture assimilation speed goes slower if your culture has a positive opinion of the target culture. It goes faster if the target culture has a positive opinion of your culture. It's now slightly faster if the target culture has the same language family as your culture. Much faster if it shares the same language. It goes now slightly slower if the target culture has the local market language. Slightly faster if your culture has the local market language. Much faster if they both share the market language. The impact is multiplied by market access. It's now faster depending on how many culture groups are shared between the target culture and your culture. It's now much faster if your culture has a unified culture group and the target culture belongs to that culture group. High kingship and lordship of island assimilation modifiers are now percentage modifiers instead of absolute values, so they're easier to balance. And now 100% doom is a penalty, not a benefit. So it's going to be interesting to see how cultural assimilation works. I think this is really going to impact the likes of France and Germany quite a bit. Like I said, I've been playing quite a bit in the Teutonic Order, and if we go to culture, converting this kind of stuff to Prussian it's been a task. It might be going a little faster if I have the languages all unified up here, so that'll be kind of interesting for sure. Diplomacy. Sound toll exemptions will expire if country that gave them has no sound tolls. Makes sense. Can no longer build spy networks on revolters. AI divorce different religions and religion groups carry the same weight as acceptance for royal marriages. Prevents non-existent countries leading the HRE. I didn't know that was a thing. Fair enough. Fix being able to add locations to the HRE with only your foreign buildings in it. Legislative efficiency no longer impacts antagonism. Okay. Uh, this I'm fine with. because legislative efficiency, the tooltip for this was absolutely dreadful. I'm not gonna lie, it was dreadful. It didn't show you all of the things that it actually impacted. Antagonism, it didn't show you that it impacted it. It was a great modifier to stack, but the game just did not tell you why. But now it is gone. Let me just hop in as, I don't know, Brandenburg. I wonder if they have changed the tooltip at all. Where is it? Here. Legislative efficiency. It hasn't changed. It has not changed. So, I don't know if it is, if the other things in there or what, but, yeah, this tooltip is unchanged. Okay. Can no longer annex someone else's revolter. Threatening enemies now has an impact. Transfer subject peace treaty. Nice. Added a subject loyalty to criteria for AI deciding if it should join an independence movement. Being forced to move capital now updates discovered for all other countries. I like this. I like this a lot. Basically, this means that if other countries only see where your capital is, and the rest of your country is in the fog of war, and if you lose that land, your capital moves to the fog of war. They don't just like forget that your country exists. They will now get vision on that new capital. It's going to affect things like Golden Horde, for example. When they lose their capital and their capital moves over here, you will still know them. That's essentially what we're getting there. First country to become your subject through war gives them plus 50 liberty desire that decays over time. This makes sense. I've noticed that forcing people to become a vassal doesn't cost nearly as much as it should do, in my opinion. This is a good change. Making a new subject from your lands now sets the levy raising cooldown to a maximum in those lands. I guess that means that the AI is able to raise levies in that land immediately. Yeah, I think that's what that means. Alright, fair enough. Start war in colony can no longer be used against civil war rebels. Okay. Threat is now based on eco-based, not tax. And we know that eco-based got changed as well. War exhaustion now has a 25% bigger impact on morale. As long as I get war exhaustion, I feel like this was bugged, right? Early EU5, I think pre-release, war exhaustion was a huge deal. It was very, very easy to see war exhaustion go up way faster than you were able to deal with it, and you had to use your government, your cabinet guys sometimes, I can't see it at the moment because I don't have any, yeah, reduce war exhaustion. It had to be done because you were just gaining it too fast. Game comes out and it's just no longer an issue, and that's kind of sad, honestly. Hopefully this patch is going to bring it back, so war exhaustion is something I have to care about again. No CB war costs 30 stab instead of 25. What a menial change. Fix an issue where the status of revolt wars didn't reset properly when the war leader changed. Countries have more freedom to pick rivals. Huge, actually. Reduce the base upkeep of alliances, but alliance costs for allying with somebody that is a threat to you is now doubled. This means that big countries are more willing to ally with weaker ones, but weaker ones have to pick one. Okay. Added a new casus belli that you can manufacture on anyone that has declared you as a rival. This will give you a superiority war goal. You can still take land with the superiority war goal. It's just much more expensive. But this is nice that there's more ways to get CBs on people. Added royal marriage with target negative reasons when calling allies to offensive wars. Okay. Added in a concept where countries can view other countries as a threat. Okay, yeah, added the threat modifier. We see that. Every rival that is a threat adds a bonus to your country. Added rules determining when countries can join as allies in conflicts. Lithuania can no longer call Poland into the Crusade War with the Teutons. Likewise, Teutons can't call in Bohemia. Love that. That's fantastic. No longer a prestige loss from no rivals. Increased alliance acceptance values related to opinion, trust, same court language, and royal marriages. decreased values related to relative strength, and decrease the opinion threshold of conquer desire reasons. Okay, so a bunch of changes there to diplomacy there. Fiefdoms and dominions now call on their overlord if they get declared war on by any other subject type. Added more reasons for countries to accept requesting sound toll exemptions. Senior partner now always gets a CB on the junior partner after breaking out of the union if the reason for this breakout is an inner conflict between two members in the same war. Claim Throne CB no longer is given out to countries for a character who's already the ruler of the target country. Character becomes ruler of target country. Peace treaty now only causes a third of the antagonism if the peace treaty does not result in a union immediately. Okay, interesting. Character becomes ruler of target country. Peace treaty is now properly locked behind the union war. Nice to see this is not... Fuck, it used to be that if you declared war for union, you couldn't do it with the target, but you could do it with all of their allies, which was obviously broken. Added subject action to transfer lands among different subjects. I love this. This is huge. New action to break up defensive leagues. They can be annulled by the peace treaty. Annul treaties. Isolate from allies can target any annullable relation. Huge as well. Transfer subject diplomatic action. We can buy any subject for cash. This is probably never going to be used. The AI just demands far too much money for basic things that they're getting no value from. So I'm not sure how much this is going to be used. If it's anything like purchasing land, for example, it's not going to happen. Great power statuses now take 5 years instead of 3 months to automatically be removed from a country, allowing you time to correct the impending loss. Hegemonies are no longer instantly lost the moment you fulfill those triggers. Instead, you get a 1-year grace period with an alert highlighting that you're at risk of losing the hegemony. Instead, if any other country is fulfilling the requirements to take it. That's kind of nice as well. Subjects created by theocracies always take the same religion. I love that. Hegemons are now allowed to be allied with non-hegemons. Dominion subjects now forced to their overlord's religion. Also huge. Can't create pirate nations in foreign building locations anymore. Casus bellis can be extended by a parliament. Okay, that's interesting. This is making me think of things like, I've got a Union CB on this country next to me, and I would really like to do that. However, we're currently allied with them, and to break alliance will give us a truce, and the truce lasts longer than the CB. But now we can extend it via parliament? That's cool. I really like that. Only nations with non-limited diplomacy or those who share an overlord can join independence movements. You can now share maps with allies. Huge. Absolutely huge. Vassals with limited diplomacy can now use their overlord food access treaties with other nations. I like it. Now possible to enforce former Union peace treaty by fulfilling the war goal requirements of the CB. Nice. Huge. Scutage can only be given to loyal subjects and is cancelled if they become disloyal. Okay. Interesting. You can no longer block someone that you have positive opinions of from building in your lands. So just don't get positive opinion with banks, or the Hansa. No longer, sorry, read that one. Change the opinion they helped us. It only applies if you actually go above and beyond in the war. That's unfortunate. Added new options, threatening rival opinions for rival of rival and opinions defended our land. Imperial ban, religious superiority, claim throne, coalition, liberate prince, spread the revolution, crush the revolution, and timorous conquest CBs have now AI values which make these CBs more used than other CBs. AI Emperor of the HRE is now heavily incentivized to no longer declare wars on other HRE members. That's nice. As soon as Bohemia becomes emperor, they're not going to go giga expanding again. Enforcing peace now grants positive opinion with the protected side if they're losing a war with less than -10 war score. That's huge as well. Only sieges related to the war now taken into account when calculating progressing siege diplomatic reason. That's crazy that this was a bug before. Added the Take Maps Peace Treaty. Huge. Absolutely huge. Looking forward to seeing how much that costs. If it's 10, maybe? It depends on what level of mappage we're getting, right? If we are going to be getting... Let me just pin this in place. If we're getting just areas, right? This is the area of land that you are exploring, right? So when you if you're, from elsewhere and you're exploring Europe, you explore the Bay of Biscay, and then you explore Brittany, and then Poitou, and then Guyette. Like, it's slow as shit. And it's really annoying, and I hope they change it in the future. if this is the kind of map that we're going to be getting, like 10 war score to take Brittany, or just Poitou, or just Guyenne, never going to use it. If, however, we're going to be looking at regions, give me a map of Ireland, give me a map of Britain, and it includes like the sea and the land. You know, then we're talking. Then we are cooking with gas. Then we are actually interested in this peace treaty. Honestly, for this amount of land, 15, 20, totally happy with that. Kind of cost as well. Let's see. You can now always manufacture a CB to attack and conquer land from a rival that is a threat. A nice way of getting more CBs in the game, for sure, like that. Removing a rival only costs 5 instead of 25, so, you know, remove rival, add a new one, get the CB attack. It's a new way to play, especially in the HRE. This is going to be really nice. Peace treaty for taking land, subjugating minors, and transferring subjects all get the same type of antagonism, so you can't spread it around to compound decay. Okay, nice. Fix the tooltip for improving opinion, so it tells you if you're going to improve antagonism too. What do you mean if? It should always do that, unless there is none, I guess. You can no longer create custom subjects out of your core locations. This is something that people have been a little bit on. I have seen, yes, this is a good idea. I don't know about this, too. This is fucking terrible. Essentially, what it's doing is, if we stop this, there was an exploit where you could avoid all of the Roman issues if you released all of this land as vassals, except, like, just this one province of Byzantium. And that's kind of sucks. That's kind of avoiding everything. But now, you're not going to be able to do that. You can only do that when you have no core. So they can release Thessaly, of course. They can release northern what's called central Peloponnese. But they cannot release all of this land, which I feel makes sense. What you could do, if you really want to keep doing this strategy, is release Thessaly and then give them all the land. But that seems somewhat silly. I guess you could probably also release, like, Ustra and Bukulon and to give them... Look, it's a bad strategy. You shouldn't do it because it's illegal. Don't do it. Anyway. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. I don't like the idea of, oh, I'm going to start a new game as, say, you know, Castile. Let me just release everything that's far away from the capital. It's just kind of a little bit nonsense. I really don't like it. Oh, I'm starting a new game as England. Let me release Northumbria. I don't know. I don't like it. You can still release Cornwall, though. That's fine. You can still do that. Anyway. Stop pop-based countries owning locations through doom explosions. I don't know where that one's coming in. I have not played the Aztecs yet. Military. Fixed a bug that made ships get the name Adjective Province. Okay. War exhaustion from being occupied has been doubled. I feel like this needs to be more than doubled, but we'll see how that plays out. You can order ships to return to a friendly port when war breaks out. Nice. I would also like... I know it's not military, but when I am protecting, you know, increasing my maritime presence, I would very, very heavily like the idea for them to, you know, go back to port and automatically get repaired, especially if you are doing it, say, in the North Sea. It's very, very annoying. You will just lose ships out of nowhere. You have to keep an eye on it. I really don't like it. Upgrading an army resets experience, just like upgrading a single regiment would. Okay, nice. I didn't know that was a thing. Increase the secure flanks for infantry from 25 to 50, so that's going to mean you can have infantry on the flanks without it being kind of terrible. You know, you're not forced to use cavalry. Right and left flanks also have 2 times secure flanks when they have it, so infantry on the flanks no longer sucks. Good stuff. Handgunners no longer consume more food, but they do 10% more strength damage. Try and make them viable to use. I like it. Naval battles that would end in a stack wipe now ends in captures and forced shattered retreat. Artillery now takes 25% extra damage instead of 50. Doubled the manpower maintenance for cavalry and artillery. That's kind of huge. combat dice roll is now 0 to 9 instead of 0 to 5, making defensive modifiers less impactful. Regiments now scale from 500 infantry to 3,000 infantry over the ages, and from 200 to 1,200 cavalry. Levies no longer have a severe penalty for assaulting. It's now using the normal levy combat efficiency scale, and levies no longer have a minimum 1,000 troop size. Definitely looking forward to seeing how this plays out. That is a pretty big change. Like, regiments were at 100 infantry at the smallest level. Now it's 500, so we are gonna... I wonder if the cost of the regiments have actually gone up as well. That would be something interesting to see. Yes. Yes, they have. They are way more expensive. Holy. Alright. Yep. Professional army is going to take a little more time to get started with. Fixed initiative which caused a lot of manpower and sailor losses to be drained from a single pop. Bomb-catching archipelago frigate now have intended amount of cannons. Mercs cost about 25% for the unit construction instead of 150. Huge on that one as well. Also reduced the price for leader. Fixed few issues which cause modifiers applying to mercs to not apply properly. Men-at-arms now have -10 strength damage taken and +1 combat speed. Nice. Naval combat now stack wipes as it did in 1.04. Good. Armies that cannot fully fit onto a navy will split, and the general assigned to the largest possible unit can embark. Huge! Huge. You don't know how annoyed I've been with transporting armies via navies. This alone is worth upgrading to the beta patch. Rebalanced the impact of friendly troops on unrest to not reduce it by 500%, but 5%. Okay, didn't know that was happening. Deaths to pops from manpower and sailor losses are now spread more evenly. Mercs upgrade their units, huge as well. Improve distribution of possible merc regiments. Tweak the distribution for type of pops. Get which type of merc unit. Cav now requires around double the amount of horses to maintain. Armies now give a combined arms bonus if they're diverse enough. Looking forward to playing around with that as well. So you can't just, oh, I get, a unique type of this, therefore this is the only thing that's going to be in my army. It's now basically encouraging you to have, footmen and archers and horses and armored horses. That's really cool. I really like that change. Adjusted the size of special units to adhere to the new standards. Makes sense. Buccaneer traits now give 5 naval morale, as privateer durability has no impact on units. Armies blocked by winter can always cancel their move, even if movement is locked. On this note, I would like it if, when you are, say, marching through some wintry mountains, say I'm playing as Milan, let's actually just go play as... I can't play as Milan? That's annoying. Whatever. Say I'm playing as Milan. I want to march through the mountains. It starts snowing. And I can't click here. My army's here. I want them to be here. I can't click here because it's winter. Let me click here. And let it just delay the start of their movement to when it is then possible for them to move. Because otherwise I'm going to have to wait here staring at this army until, the snow melts and then they can finally make their way over. Just let me queue up the move order. Just let me queue it up, because this is really freaking annoying. It's really, really annoying. Sergeantry and City Guard now give 15 manpower instead of 10. Alright. Increased war exhaustion from battles. Again, looking forward to seeing how war exhaustion plays out now. From occupation, it's now harsher, but it weighs in the occupation by control, so low control areas have low effect. Makes sense. Being blockaded is now more impactful for your war exhaustion. It scales with how many ports you have compared to the amount of locations. And then this thing for Serbia is now 10 levy size. A small push to quality instead of crippling the country for 20% levy. Good. Geopolitics. Automatic marriage for dynasty members will now check the block for marriage modifier. Privateering can generate some gold. Pope will no longer explore and colonize when play with the AI. Huge, so the Pope is no longer going to be the giga colonizer that it currently is. Colonial trials now count pops relocated to the colony once the threshold is reached, determined by location, population, and power projection. The colony will flip, and it doesn't involve religion or culture anymore. Good. Balance the privateer durability from advances should not be insanely overpowered. So advances. Save games from older versions will now add new advances to tech trees when loading into the new version of the game. That's huge. I love that. Stopped unavailable advances from being given to released vassals. I didn't know that was happening. Institution spread from scripted relations now works as intended, and alliances are useful now. Yay! I didn't realize this wasn't working. I've been trying to ally with people to get institutions, thinking, oh, I just must, the modifier just isn't there, but it's fine. I'm sure it's working. Nope. Apparently it just wasn't working. Stops the road construction in corridors being destroyed on loading. Okay, I'm glad that happens. Rulers keep crown estate after death. Rivers also ignore vegetation for proximity calculations. Rivers we're going to definitely be talking about. Halved the colonial migration, made it more costly. Removed the levy-specific special scaling abilities for damage dealt or damage taken. It's now purely, no maths. Rebel investments are now showing all of the money. Added shadows from the 3D objects onto the flat map. And removed the double flank bonus for infantry. On to content. For this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause my recording, read through it, and anything that I find that, jumps out at me as being really important, I will talk about. But I'm not going to be reading through every single line. It's like, oh, remove the Nanai and Solon cultures. Okay, whatever. So that's my plan, because this video is already 45 minutes long, and we have so much stuff to go through still. But yeah, I'm going to pause and read through it now. Okay, so in setup, there's a couple of things that are important. Adding Action Loot and Car Loot as possible revolters for the city, it's huge. Love that. Getting the black and white sheep back, huge. Also, Finland is now releasable. It was releasable, but now it's Finnish culture instead of Swedish culture, so also huge. Though I think Sweden's probably going to be able to keep it. The amount of lakes in Finland mean that you're probably going to be able to get decent control around the place. If you can get control here, then 100 proximity lakes going all the way over here you're probably going to be fine. So that works well enough for you. But that's only really the things in setup. Situations. Bunch of situations got fixed. All the situations that you thought, oh, this is absolutely tragic, it doesn't really work, it should now work better. The ones that I think are absolutely important to point out, though, is the where is it down here again? Rework logic of how Japanese clans get landed during the Sengoku. This one is super important because now you can actually play in Japan as one of the clans. The logic, if I remember correctly, because it doesn't say here, is whoever has the most buildings in a location gets to own the location when Sengoku happens in 1400. Before, it just was roll the dice and generally led to you being game over, which obviously sucked ass. Now it looks like Japan is playable. I'm looking forward to jumping back in over there. Those are the ones that I felt were important to point out, but obviously I'm keeping it on screen so you can read through if you so desire. Pause the video if you want. As for disasters, the main ones that are important to point out here is HRE AI no longer declares no CB wars within the HRE. Also, the extra cost penalty, antagonism penalty for conquest within the HRE and for people outside the HRE is quite a lot higher. And also, court and country disaster. I've seen people that have done really well with their crown power, got up to like 50 crown power, and then the disaster happens, and now you need to get to 70, which is, the higher you are, the harder it is to get higher. Now it's basically going to be a bit easier for you. Events, I'm not going to, I'm going to scroll down slowly so you can read it. I'm not going to look at individual events. That's gonna take too much time, and I don't remember any events that are like absolutely broken, so I'll just scroll slowly. Feel free to pause to read them if you so desire. Now, government. There's not much in here. Basically, Anatolian Beylik government reform now requires the rise of the Turks to have ended for the reform to be removable. Makes sense. And becoming a monarchy from a theocracy, all of your guys are going to be now in the crown estate. That makes sense. And Mongolia is now a formable country. Venetian arsenal building being possible to be built inland. That's crazy. I thought that was a unique building that could only be built in Venice. I didn't realize that was a problem. Remove the goods demand generated by tribesmen is also a huge change. Market village building has been added to Mesoamerican Andean rural capitals. Makes sense as well. That's nice. 2 new copper-based production methods for the Tools Guild Copper Toolmakers and the Jewelry Guild Copper-based Jewelry, both unlocked by the Native Americans as well. So they're going to be a little bit more playable. Tools Guilds there have been added to them as well. So that's good for them. Moving on, not too much in society worth mentioning, but a huge one, I think, for diplomacy is hegemony diplomatic actions can now be rejected by the target country. So things like France becomes the cultural hegemon, and then they immediately, because you've allied them, because you want all of their money, they say, yo, whatever your country is, you now speak French in your court. You couldn't decline that, and you were stuck with that for, I think, 15 years, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was 10. Now you can say no. When a demand gets rejected, the hegemony gets a CB against the target country to enforce their demands through cheap peace treaties. That's huge. I think that's really, really cool. I quite like that. Limited the takeover loan action to banking countries. I'm not a massive fan of that one. That one is... I don't like that because Florence, do you still get that? Apparently not. Maybe it's a country bonus. I don't remember. That's kind of awkward. That was kind of the one reason that Florence was like a really fun nation to play. You couldn't even abuse it that much. But I'm a bit sad to see that one go through, to be honest. I think it should have been... I think Florence should have kept that. Disloyal subject CB is no longer blocked against a fiefdom from being used just because you happen to be in a union. Makes sense. Improved malaria environment infection rates to take into account the climate, topography, and vegetation of a location. For example, a jungle, flatlands, and tropical location is much more dangerous than sparse hills and arid one. Great Pestilence Disease will only spawn on American colonies and territories annexed by Old World countries if those locations contain Native Americans. Great Pestilence situation now always visible for countries that have their modifiers active, and it will not end until the disease has exhausted itself, and most settled countries in America have suffered it. And fix the Great Pestilence stagnation chance so it always increases with disease resistance, and remove the malaria from Cape Verde. Some advances that have been added. This one is, I think, the more visible one. Austria now getting minus 50 procs impact from mountains, hills, and plateaus. Going to really buff them quite a bit. But yeah, that's a huge one. And then achievements. Nothing about Hongwu D, which is unfortunate. Yeah, it's kind of annoying that that's not been mentioned because that is still broken. I will load up my save as... Let me just... I'm going to load up my Hongwu D save just in case it happens to be working. But if not, then I'm going to be quite sad. The Bay Fortress building granted by Rise of the Turks situation will no longer trigger the event the fall of location for the Timurids due to their auto-conquest mechanic. Some mission changes have changed, hints have changed, some icons have changed. The AI will now enforce religion on subjects. That's kind of cute. I like that. I'm going to pause and read these as well. But first, we're going to check my Great Ming. Essentially, the achievement that I want is Hongwu D. As Ming, on the entirety of China, be the leader of the Middle Kingdom. I think it is just looking for the Middle Kingdom stuff, so I shouldn't need Taiwan. I've been told that I don't need Taiwan. Let's go... Oh, actually, you can see there are 7 speeds? This is crazy. This is wild. But month tick... and no achievement. So that is unfortunate. Hongwu D still broken. That is... Oh, just fix the goddamn achievement, man. Speaking of achievements, you can also see the new ones here. Have all the hegemonies, have 50 quality and offensive societal values, and have perpetual diet, irregular land freedom, and direct taxation policies enacted. So I'm definitely going to be doing a Brandenburg into Emperor run, and getting these three. I think there's another one actually. No, Castile or Spain. Something in here, I thought. Maybe not. Oh yeah, there. I'll be Wittelsbach. So you got like 4 achievements in one campaign. I'm looking forward. I'm going to do that one. Starting tonight, actually, I'm going to stream tonight at my usual time, and we're going to do a bit of Brandenburg there. That's, this has disappointed me a bit, but anyway, moving on. So, with the AI, greatly increasing the AI desire to use existing CBs instead of creating new ones, I think this is going to be allowing the AI to be a little bit more aggressive, but without, like, some of the annoyance of the current levels of aggression. Of course, we're getting changes to AI aggression in the game rules as well, which is kind of interesting and nice. Other things, they'll stop working on creating a CB if it obtains another better CB, which is, just helping the AI do things properly. They won't try and send alliance offers if they were just broken. So, say you have just, broken your alliance with somebody because you're planning on attacking them after the truce is up, you just get spammed with alliance offers because they still kind of like you. They're not taking the hint. But yeah, other than that, there are some nice AI changes here. For the economy, though, I think the biggest one here is that the AI won't change its law policies via Parliament agenda. I guess this is to stop the AI from just changing policies willy-nilly. Say, oh, I can change it, I'm gonna do it. Which is good and bad, because I feel like the AI is going to be a bit more static with its laws now. Obviously, this is the objectively best way to change laws. There's no better way. But them not being allowed to means that they're either going to be spending hundreds of stability on changing them, or they're just never going to change them. I don't think either of those options are very good. I don't know. Some military fixes, units won't get stuck waiting for a transport that's awaiting repairs. They'll prioritize siege bordering provinces to avoid many situations where the sieging army will run out of food. Issue AI armies would sometime abandon their siege when another siege finished in the vicinity. I never actually noticed that one, but yeah, it's good that that's fixed. Bunch of other, the AI is just going to be better at war, hopefully. Yeah, that's obviously a good thing. But now, some really good ones. Interface. A map mode for eco base of country. Renamed technology to advances. Ported the better road builder mod to be in the base game. And the mod creator has gotten some credit here as well. If we go in and look as well at the E5 workshop, if I just look at my subscribed items, because it will be in here, better road builder, and we can scroll down and we see that Rayagi actually left a comment here. We're interested in integrating the mods idea into the base game. Send you a friend request if you'd like to discuss it further. I really appreciate all those who have contributed and enjoyed the mod. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. I really appreciate that the devs are actually giving credit for what's happening. Jeff actually responded. It says just now, so literally, as I'm recording this, it's now 1603. For me at least. Thanks for everyone for using, liking, supporting the mod. Never expected to make it into the base game. When the official patch drops, I'll see how easy it is to modify the effect into other map modes and might pivot the mod to providing that functionality instead if it's necessary. That's cool. And let's actually have a look at... Firstly, this is what the Better Road Builder mod did. It showed roads and rivers on the same map mode, which I find is still better than what we currently have. Because what we currently have is... I need to start a new game again. I'll be right back. So, the current version of the Rivers map mode is this. We can now, if you zoom at this level, you see all of the locations that are impacted by rivers. And then if you zoom in further, you get to see where the rivers actually are. And you get a little bit of a direction indicator as well. Not sure where that's going to come in handiest. I guess here to make sure you know that this is going this way and not this way, whatever. But for the most part, this is fantastic. I wish there was a combined mode where you could combine both the roads, which also now shows the actual line on the map for the road, which I find really freaking useful, because now you can see that, let's see, a good option. Yeah, here. Chateau Thierry and Broyes both have roads, but there is no road connecting Chateau Thierry with Broyes. This wasn't possible before, so this is a huge, huge benefit. Very, very happy to see this for sure. Speaking of rivers, though, England's still shafted. I really hope that they add more rivers to England soon. Eventually, maybe. There is a mod that I will probably start using called Sulphur's Rivers Expanded, and yeah, you can just see from just Britain alone, it just looks so much, much better. And you see the rivers, how they change between current, and yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm gonna probably start using this. But either way, back to the Dev Diary. Out of the coalition and technology map modes, interesting that, okay, so we did have this. This was antagonism. Obviously, it doesn't work because I'm not in any of the countries. I suppose there's a little bit of antagonism here. But now there is also a coalition map mode that is not related to that. So here, this will be just the countries that are in the coalition. So actually, that's going to be super useful. We're adding that to the bar. What I do want very much is the ability to reorder these. Or, I mean, just take all of these and put them where my face is. Bottom right corner, where they frickin' belong. Eventually, hopefully, that will be something that we can have. Never going to get used to this down here. I still don't like it. I want it over here. Multiple map modes on the same button. That kind of situation. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. But yeah, new map modes are awesome. Love me some new map modes. You now change the map mode while in a builder that forces a map mode, but clicking on the map will restore the forced map mode. Alt-click now opens the production view for the selected location. I thought it was shift-click. That's what we were told before. Let us hop in as Hungary, and we will see if it is shift-click or alt-click. So, first, shift-click on, say, Buda. It is alt-click, and that's what's going to bring you to this page here, Buildings of Buda. So, I also really like the fact that we're getting the production efficiency bonuses on this, even if the building isn't built. Absolutely fantastic. I love that. I love that so much. Another thing, we can now hide alerts permanently. Hide and mute. If you hold down shift, you can change that. So that's also something that people are very, very happy about. But yeah, AI Conquer Desire map mode as well. I'm gonna look for that as well, because that seems kind of interesting. Conquer Desire, that should be in here, right? AI Conquer Desire. So the AI of Hungary, I'm playing as Hungary, so there isn't one. They want this land. Let's have a look at the Ottomans. They desire that. The Romans desire that. Golden Horde don't desire anything. Kiev desires a bit of Chernihiv. All right. England desires the northern coast. France doesn't desire any of England apart from mainland England. Okay, interesting. Castile wants Portugal. I mean, I feel like this is less conquer desire and more what would be best for them location, like proximity-wise. Right? The Pope desires more land around... Yeah, that makes sense, actually, because this is their only area with proximity. Milan wants that. Okay. It's certainly interesting. It's certainly interesting. Like, the Teutons don't want any of Lithuania, but that's just a lie, because they should want this land to connect them to the Livonian Order. Yeah, okay. We're definitely going to be looking more into this. Definitely looking more into this. But that's certainly interesting. Fix the selected map mode to display imports and exports using the correct orange and blue lines, and then also fix it displaying incorrectly. River map mode is obviously lovely. Alerts. Added great power status threatened alert. Discarded alerts can now be undiscarded or muted for not showing again. Added an upgradable buildings alert. That's nice as well. Added textures for the different colored alert banner buttons. Added texture for the notification on or off button. Template for the different alert buttons. Privateers and pirates alert will now show for each location. For the average power of the privates. All right. Disable breaking relations alert for human-controlled countries. Good, nice. Okay, so this is a multiplayer thing. Upgrade upgradable buildings alert to display data in more user-friendly way. Nice. And added support to map modes for alerts. Now, a bunch of panels also been changed. This is a UI situation, I believe. So the ones that I think is kind of interesting here is War View. We now notify player when a war can end in enforced white piece. Bankruptcy progress charts there. Attrition losses will now be shown in the war panel with a summary and breakdown of the war losses text and tooltip. We actually have a much better warfare peace screen as well, which I didn't see in here, but it should be. Maybe it's somewhere else. But that's also really good. Some tooltips have been fixed as well. I'm not going to go over every one of these. But again, if you would like to read war losses tooltips displaying battles and country losses, nice, obviously. Other game has 7 different game speeds. I touched on that, but that's so different. I don't know what to make of this yet. I started playing Paradox games with EU4. Sorry, CK3, CK2 actually. Having multiple game speeds is going to take some getting used to. Battle pop-up exceeding borders. I didn't notice that was a thing. Some sea zones we had it on the map when hovering over their names. Okay. Let's have a gander. So we have a new peace deal accepted window. Like I said, that's awesome. You have now got a filter for special buildings and regiments, which is also cool. Speaking of regiments, they now hide obsolete units by default within each category, which is kind of nice as well. Potential base tax is now called wealth. Tax-based share is called wealth share, and potential profit is now just profit. And then, obviously, we have some more unit models, which is awesome, mostly for the Germans. There are now Filipino ethnicity, and there is a historical portrait for this bastard, Oliver Cromwell. It's gonna take an absolute age to try and find him, so we're not gonna try and do that now. But yeah, now he will look like he looks like. Also, more clothing. Modding. I am not a modder, so if you are a modder, feel free to pause and read. I'm sure you've also just, looked at this on your own. But a bunch of stuff there for modders to do stuff with. Translation, changed several instances of untolerated culture to a tolerated culture. Whatever. Multiplayer, some crash to desktop stuff happening that has been fixed. Good. These are all fixed desyncs, fixing crashes. Mounted state for DLCs. Don't know what that means. Good stuff. And a bunch of bug fixes as well. I don't know. Is there any bugs that I'm really like, oh, this thing needed fixing? I guess maybe Hongwu D not being fixed, but, I mean... okay, fair enough. You can't humiliate somebody who you are fully annexing. That's a change. Okay, fair enough. But other than that, awesome. That is the whole thing. And this took me a long time to record because I also had to go and pick up my kid from school halfway through. So by the time you get this, it's probably going to be closer to, I don't know, 4 hours since this came out. So apologies that it took some time. If you've stuck with me until the end of this video, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And I'll be back with more Tinto Talk stuff. I think we've got another Tinto Talk on Wednesday. So stick around for that. Subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I'm going to go play some EU5. So you should probably do the same because, Rossback's out. And this looks like a great update. So have fun, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.